The crystal champagne flute quivers in my hand, its delicate stem catching the soft glow of chandeliers at the San Jose Country Club. I stand alone at the bar, an island amidst the swirl of my cousin Claire's engagement party. The room hums with perfection, orchid centerpieces, tailored suits, laughter polished to a high shine. But when my family's eyes skim over me, their smiles tighten, never quite reaching warmth. I'm Julia, the one who doesn't fit the frame of their glossy narrative. I glance at my phone. No messages from Logan. The sleek designer watch he gave me last Christmas ticks past 7:30 p.m. Zurich time. His consulting meeting should be over by now. I sip the champagne, bubbles sharp on my tongue, and try to anchor myself in the moment. But the weight of being here, surrounded by people who see me as a footnote, presses against my chest. Julia, darling. My mother's voice cuts through the chatter, laced with that performative lilt she reserves for public displays. She glides toward me, her pearl necklace glinting, steering an older couple in crisp evening wear. This is the Andersons, new members. Her smile is a practiced curve. And this is Julia. She's between relationships right now. The words sting, though I've heard variations of them for years. 2 years engaged to Logan, and she still erases him, as if he's a figment I conjured to compete with Claire. I swallow the correction, offering the Andersons a nod. Pleasure to meet you. They murmur polite greetings and drift away, leaving me with the faint burn of my mother's dismissal. My phone buzzes, and my heart leaps. Logan, maybe. But it's just my Dubai team, confirming slides for tomorrow's client presentation. I need to hear his voice, to ground me before I unravel under the weight of this family's fiction. The main room's clinking glasses and tinkling laughter feel suffocating. I slip into the hallway leading to the ladies' room, where the marble floor echoes under my heels and the noise fades to a hush. I dial Logan's number, pacing the cool corridor. No answer yet. My green silk dress, chosen to signal success without screaming for attention, brushes my knees. The diamond on my left hand catches the dim light, a quiet reminder of the life I built beyond these walls. I pause by a framed mirror, checking my reflection. The woman staring back looks composed, but her eyes betray a flicker of doubt. A sound stops me, laughter, sharp and familiar, floating from around the corner. My mother's voice, slurred just enough to hint at her third glass of Pinot, mingles with Aunt Patricia's. 2 years engaged to a man no one's met, my mother says, her tone dripping with amusement. Who does that? Aunt Patricia's laugh cracks like brittle glass. Aviation consultant? Is that what we call flight attendants now? I've started calling him her imaginary fiancé when she's not around. My breath catches. The phone slips from my fingers, clattering against the marble. I bend to retrieve it, my hands trembling. Their words echo childhood memories, mockery dressed as concern, always comparing me to Claire, the golden daughter. Tears prick my eyes, but I blink them back. I won't let them see me break. Maria, my younger cousin, appears at the hallway's end, her brow furrowing as she catches my expression. Julia, you okay? She asks softly, her voice free of the family's usual judgment. I force a smile, clutching my phone. Just needed a breather. Maria nods, lingering as if she senses the storm brewing inside me. She's always been different, quieter, watching more than she speaks. I wonder if she's heard the whispers too. Back at the bar, I order another champagne, the flute cold against my palm. Claire, radiant in white, laughs with her fiancé, Michael, their ease a stark contrast to my solitude. My mother holds court near the gift table, Aunt Patricia at her side, their heads bent in conspiratorial glee. The party sparkles on, oblivious to the fracture widening in my heart. I check my phone again. Still nothing from Logan. But something shifts inside me, a spark of resolve. I've spent years trying to prove myself to these people. Tonight, I'm done begging for their belief. The hallway silence wraps around me, a brief reprieve from the engagement party's hum. My reflection in the mirror blurs as memories flood in, pulling me back to the moments that carved this chasm between me and my family. The marble under my heels feels like the cold linoleum of our old kitchen, where I stood at 22, facing my father's wrath. Law school is your future, Julia, he bellowed, his face that particular shade of purple reserved for my defiance. This art school nonsense is throwing your life away. My mother, wringing her hands in the background, added her softer cut, graphic design is a lovely hobby, sweetheart, but it's not a career. I'd clutched my acceptance letter to Parsons, my heart pounding with hope they couldn't see. The memory shifts to Christmas video calls after I moved to Europe. I'd share news of my growing client list, my voice bright with pride. That's nice, dear, my mother would say, her smile tight, but did you hear? Claire made junior partner at her firm. Each call chipped away at me, their dismissal a steady drip eroding my confidence. My father's voice, gruff with disappointment, would echo, when are you coming home to start a real career? I blink, and I'm back in the hallway, my fingers tracing the textured wallpaper to ground me. Maria lingers nearby, her presence a quiet comfort. She was there for some of those calls, a teenager then, watching from the couch with wide eyes. Once, after a particularly brutal call, she'd slipped me a note, your designs are amazing. Don't listen to them. I'd tucked it away, a small lifeline in the storm of doubt. Another memory surfaces, my first big break, a branding project for a London startup. I'd called home, bursting with excitement. Freelance work, my father had scoffed. You're playing at business, Julia. My mother's response was gentler but no less cutting, Claire's presenting at a legal conference next week. Maybe you could learn from her focus. I'd hung up, tears blurring my laptop screen, and vowed to prove them wrong. Maria steps closer now, her voice low. They've always been harder on you, she says, her eyes holding a mix of sympathy and anger. I heard Mom and Aunt Diane talking earlier. It's not just tonight. I nod, the weight of her words settling in. Maria's always seen more than she lets on, her quiet rebellion against the family's hierarchy a mirror to my own. Thanks for saying that, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. She squeezes my arm before slipping back to the party, leaving me with the ghosts of my past. The hallway feels smaller now, the memories pressing close. I think of the late nights in my tiny Zurich apartment, sketching logos while my family slept thousands of miles away, convinced I was chasing a delusion. Each rejection fueled me, but it also left scars, doubts I've carried into boardrooms and relationships. Logan's face flashes in my mind, his warm smile a counterpoint to this cold history. He saw me when they didn't, believed in me when I faltered. I straighten, smoothing my green silk dress. The past is a dangerous place to linger tonight. My phone buzzes, another work email, not Logan. The Dubai presentation looms, a reminder of the life I built despite their disbelief. I slip the phone into my clutch, my resolve hardening. They've never understood my choices, but I've carried their doubts long enough. Tonight, I'll start shedding that weight, starting with the family toast Claire's about to call me for. I step toward the main room, each click of my heels a promise to myself, no more pleading for their approval. The hallway's cool marble muffles the party's din, a sanctuary of silence as I clutch my phone, still waiting for Logan's call. My heels click softly, echoing in the empty corridor, when a sharp burst of laughter stops me cold. It's my mother's voice, tinged with wine and malice, drifting from around the corner where the hallway bends toward the ladies' room. 2 years engaged to a man no one's ever met, she says, her words slurring slightly. Who does that, Patricia? Aunt Patricia's answering laugh is a jagged shard, slicing through the air. Aviation consultant? Is that what we call flight attendants now? I've taken to calling him her imaginary fiancé when she's not listening. My heart lurches. The phone slips from my numb fingers, clattering against the marble with a sound that feels deafening. I crouch to retrieve it, my hands shaking, the diamond on my left ring finger glinting accusingly in the dim light. Their words burrow deep, unearthing childhood memories of whispered judgments, my art projects dismissed as cute, my ambitions labeled phases. Always, Claire was the benchmark, her every step applauded while mine were questioned. She's always trying to keep up with Claire, my mother continues, her voice thick with amusement. Inventing this grand life in Europe. It's exhausting. Patricia's chuckle is a cruel echo. At least Claire's engagement is real. Michael's here, shaking hands. Where's this Logan? Tears burn behind my eyes, but I clench my jaw, refusing to let them fall. I won't give them the satisfaction, even if they can't see me. My green silk dress feels too tight, the hallway too small. I press a hand to the textured wallpaper, grounding myself as their laughter fades into low murmurs, their footsteps retreating toward the party. Maria appears at the hallway's end, her silhouette framed by the main room's golden light. Julia? Her voice is soft, cautious, as if she senses the fracture in me. She steps closer, her eyes scanning my face. You heard them, didn't you? I nod, unable to speak. Maria's expression hardens, a flicker of anger breaking through her usual reserve. They've been doing this forever, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I saw the group chat last week. They think your career's a hobby, your engagement's a story. I wanted to tell you, but it's okay, I manage, though it's not. Maria's honesty is a small balm, but the wound is raw. She hesitates, then touches my arm. You don't deserve this. Her words linger as she slips back to the party, leaving me alone with the echo of betrayal. I straighten, my reflection catching in a nearby mirror. The woman staring back looks composed, but her eyes are stormy. My mother's words replay, imaginary fiancé, invented life. They've built a narrative where I'm a dreamer chasing shadows, not a woman running global campaigns. Logan's absence tonight fuels their mockery, but I know he's real, as solid as the contracts I've signed, the clients I've won. My phone buzzes, a text from my Dubai team, not Logan. I slip it into my clutch, the spark of resolve igniting. They want a toast for Claire's engagement. Fine. I'll give them one, but it won't be the polite performance they expect. I turn toward the main room, each step a rebellion against the doubts they've sown. They've underestimated me for too long. The hallway silence cocoons me, the sting of my mother's words still pulsing like a fresh bruise. I lean against the textured wallpaper, my fingers tracing its subtle ridges to tether me to the present. The party's distant hum, clinking glasses, practiced laughter, feels like another world, one where I've always been an outsider. My phone remains silent, no word from Logan, but his absence sharpens my clarity. I don't need his voice to ground me tonight, I need to ground myself. Memories flicker, unbidden. Zurich, 3 years ago, a crowded conference room thick with the scent of coffee and ambition. Logan across the table, his eyes crinkling as he smiled, listening intently as I pitched branding concepts for his airline client. His attention felt like sunlight after years in shadow. The work is exceptional, he'd said later, his hand brushing mine. Your family must be proud. My laugh had been sharp, brittle. They think I'm playing at a career while hunting for a husband. His hand covered mine, warm and steady. Then they don't know you at all. That moment blooms in my mind, a counterpoint to the hallway's chill. Logan saw me, my drive, my talent, when my family saw only flaws. Another memory surfaces, the night he proposed, under a Zurich sky bruised with dusk. I'd called my mother, voice trembling with joy. Is this real, Julia? She'd asked after a long pause. Or are you just trying to keep up with Claire? The silence that followed had cut deeper than her words. I blink, back in the hallway, my reflection sharp in a gilded mirror. The green silk dress falls perfectly, chosen to signal success without begging for approval. The diamond on my left hand catches the light, as real as the man who gave it to me. Logan's words from that night echo, they'll understand someday. Build your life first. I've done that, despite their doubts, but tonight, their mockery threatens to unravel me. Rebecca's face flashes in my mind, my friend since our Paris days, who's probably fashionably late to the party. She knows this family, knows the weight of their disbelief. Last week, over coffee, she'd said, "You're not the one who needs to prove anything, Jules." They do. Her words bolster me now, a reminder that I'm not alone in this fight. Maria's earlier kindness lingers too, her quiet defiance a crack in the family's united front. She's seen the group chats, heard the whispers, and chosen to stand apart. Her support, however small, feels like a lifeline, reminding me I built allies beyond these walls. I smooth my dress, touch up my lipstick in the mirror. The mask I've worn at every family gathering since childhood, perfect daughter, polite performer, slides into place, but it feels different now. It's not surrender, it's armor. Claire's voice carries from the main room, "Julia, we need you for the family toast." My phone buzzes, a text from Logan at last, "Finished early. Missing you." The words shift something in me, like a key turning in a lock. I've spent my life chasing their approval, molding myself to fit their expectations. Tonight, I see it clearly, their belief was never the prize I thought it was. My fingers fly across the phone, "Now, please come now." I slip it into my clutch, shoulders squaring. Claire appears, radiant in white. "There you are. Mom wants you to say a few words." "Of course she does," I say, my voice steady. The walk back to the main room feels like crossing a threshold. Each step carries a decision forged in years of doubt. They want a toast? I'll give them one they'll never forget. My mother's beaming smile awaits, expecting another polished performance. She has no idea what's coming. The reception hall glows with golden light, chandeliers casting soft halos over the sea of tailored suits and glittering dresses. I step toward the microphone, the crystal champagne flute heavy in my hand, its weight mirroring the moment. My mother stands near the front, her smile a perfect crescent, expecting another of my carefully rehearsed performances. The same smile she wore through piano recitals and debate tournaments, applauding my precision while missing my passion. Claire, radiant beside her fiancé, Michael, nods encouragingly. The crowd quiets, expectant faces turning toward me. I clear my throat, the microphone amplifying the sound across the venue's precise acoustics. When two people find each other, I begin, my voice steady, they deserve a foundation of belief and support. The words float, innocuous at first, drawing nods from the guests. Claire and Michael have that in spades. Every step of their journey, celebrated, documented, believed. A champagne flute clinks against a butter knife in the back. Someone coughs. My mother's smile holds, but her eyes flicker as they meet mine. I pause, letting the silence stretch. Some people never receive that support, I continue, my tone soft but edged, like snow before a storm. Some build their lives while those closest to them whisper doubts behind closed doors and country club bathrooms. The room stills. My mother's fingers tighten around her glass, pearls gleaming at her throat. Aunt Patricia shifts in her chair, the rustle of her silk dress a familiar prelude to her judgments. I raise my flute, ice cracking in the quiet. So here's to those blessed with family who believe in them without proof, without question. My gaze sweeps the crowd, landing briefly on Maria, whose eyes shine with quiet pride. And to those who succeed anyway. The applause comes scattered, uncertain, like the first drops of rain. My mother's smile falters, a crack in her polished facade. Aunt Patricia stares at her plate, suddenly fascinated by the garnish. Claire's fiancé, Michael, claps politely, but his brow furrows, sensing the undercurrent. Rebecca, slipping in late as always, catches my eye from the back, her knowing nod a silent cheer. Maria appears at my elbow as I step away from the microphone, her hand warm on my arm. "That was brave," she whispers, her phone glowing between us. "I wanted to show you this." She scrolls through a family group chat, words leaping out like daggers. "Maybe Julia needs therapy. No real career. Inventing relationships to compete with Claire. My father's message from last month, she's going through a phase. The same dismissal he used when I left law school, when I moved to Europe, when I built my first international client portfolio. They've been saying this for years," Maria says, her voice low over the string quartet's tentative notes. "Your brother told the Hendersons your career was mostly freelance, like you're doodling logos in a coffee shop instead of running global campaigns." The weight of their words settles across my shoulders, familiar as an old coat. My mother holds court near the gift table, Aunt Patricia at her side, the perfect duo, one to sow doubt, the other to nurture it into lies. Maria's anger mirrors my own, a spark I didn't expect from her. Claire's been decent, though, she adds. She shut Mom down last week when she started on your imaginary life in Dubai. My phone buzzes, Logan's text lighting up the screen, 3 minutes out. Ready? The room shifts, faces rearranging into new patterns. Rebecca's eyebrows lift as she reads my expression, sensing the storm about to break. My mother's voice drifts from behind a floral arrangement, she can't sustain these stories forever. The master of ceremonies taps his microphone, announcing the end of toasts before dinner. My Dubai team's presentation deck flashes in my mind, the one my family dismissed as playing at business last Christmas, the one that landed a contract worth more than my father's annual draw. I cross the marble floor to where my mother stands, her circle of friends parting like a curtain. For once, I don't shrink to fit her presence. I've never lied about my life, I say, my voice steady as a pulse. Not once. Remember that. Something flickers in her eyes, discomfort, maybe fear, before her smile slides back into place. Of course, darling. We've always supported your creative endeavors. The faint throb of helicopter blades cuts through the evening air. Her head snaps up, recognition dawning. She knows that sound from my father's clients arriving in private choppers. But this time, it's different. The truth doesn't whisper, it's about to roar. The helicopter's distant thrum grows louder, slicing through the country club's polished chatter. Champagne flutes pause midair, conversations stutter to a halt. My mother's voice, laced with forced calm, breaks the silence. Someone must be lost. She shoots a pointed look at the club manager near the terrace doors. I'll check with traffic control, my father says, pulling out his phone, already in problem-solving mode. Aunt Patricia's laugh rings hollow. Claire, darling, did you arrange a surprise? Claire shakes her head, confusion plain on her face. I take a slow sip of champagne, the bubbles dancing on my tongue. The moment I've orchestrated unfolds precisely as planned, yet my hands tremble as I set down my flute. The club doesn't allow unauthorized landings, my mother declares, smoothing her silk dress, a gesture I recognize from childhood, when control slipped from her grasp. Silver-haired men in blazers drift toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, women in designer dresses craning their necks, jewelry glinting. I move toward the terrace doors, each step weightless, like I'm floating through a dream I've rehearsed 1,000 times. The garden's fairy lights cast my shadow long across the marble floor. My mother's fingers close on my wrist. Julia, where are you going? I turn, gentle but firm. To greet my fiancé. Her grip slips, her eyes flickering with understanding and fear. The helicopter crests the tree line, sleek and black against the purple dusk, its landing lights sweeping manicured lawns and topiaries. Julia, my mother says, her polish gone, this disruption is unnecessary. I don't respond. Words lost their power somewhere between imaginary fiancé and tonight's mockery. I push open the terrace doors, stepping into the evening air. The party falls silent behind me, even the string quartet pausing. My green silk dress ripples in the artificial wind, framing me in the doorway. The moment stretches, sweet with anticipation. The helicopter lands with professional precision, rotors slowing to a whisper. The door opens, and Logan emerges, charcoal suit impeccable, hair slightly windswept, every inch the aviation consultant. My breath catches, he's exactly as I pictured, hitting his mark like an actor in my carefully scripted scene. Sorry I'm late, darling, he calls, his voice carrying across the hushed garden. He strides toward me, confident and unhurried, bending to kiss my forehead, his hand settling at my waist with familiar warmth. Did I miss your toast? A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. Crystal shatters, someone's grip on their flute failing spectacularly. Logan turns to the party, spotting Claire and Michael. Claire Thomas, congratulations. He produces an envelope from his jacket. A small engagement gift, first-class upgrades for your honeymoon. The Maldives, right? Claire's face lights up, genuine delight breaking through her surprise. Logan, you shouldn't have. Thank you. Unlike my mother, she never joined the whispers. Rebecca, across the room, raises her glass in a silent toast, her smile a balm for my racing heart. Logan guides me inside, his hand steady at my back. The crowd parts like water, faces a mix of awe and disbelief. My father steps forward, his expression a map of embarrassment and calculation. "Mr. Bennett," Logan says, extending his hand. "Wonderful to finally meet you." Julia speaks of her childhood with such fondness. My father's handshake is automatic, corporate instinct kicking in. "Aviation consulting, you said. Which markets?" "Primarily Europe and Asia," Logan replies, his voice blending authority and ease. "We're expanding in the Middle East." A Dubai conference call ran long, hence the delay. My mother hovers nearby, twisting her pearl necklace. Aunt Patricia retreats to a corner, suddenly engrossed in her phone. Relatives drift closer, their earlier dismissal morphing into hungry curiosity. "Julia," my mother says, her voice cracking. "We should have," she trails off, unable to finish. "Believed me," I say, soft as silk, sharp as steel. "Yes, you should have." Logan's hand squeezes mine, grounding me. Phones appear in manicured hands, screens glowing as guests search Logan's firm, my clients, the life they called fantasy. "The Al Mahara Group was impressed with Julia's branding," Logan says casually to my father. "The contract value alone." My mother's sharp breath cuts him off. Her phone screen shows a headline, "Bennett Global Branding Secures Historic Middle East Deal." "You never mentioned," she begins. "I did," I say, steady. "Every Christmas, every birthday." "You changed the subject to Claire's promotions. The string quartet resumes, but the party's rhythm has shifted." Years of dismissal crash against Logan's helicopter, my success, our life. My family scrambles to rewrite history, but I stand firm, no longer seeking their approval. The helicopter sits on the lawn, a bold punctuation mark, but not the end of my story. The party's energy has shifted, the air thick with recalculated alliances and uneasy glances. Logan's arm rests lightly at my waist as we navigate the reception hall, the helicopter's dark silhouette visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. My mother's smile, once a beacon of control, now wavers as she clutches her wine glass. Aunt Patricia lingers near the gift table, her usual poise replaced by a sudden fascination with her phone. The crowd murmurs, phones glowing as relatives and guests scroll through search results, Logan's firm, my campaigns, the truth they dismissed. My father approaches, his face a careful mask of interest. "Aviation consulting must be fascinating," he says, his tone forced. "The regulatory frameworks alone," Logan nods, engaging smoothly. "Complex, but rewarding." Julia's branding work navigates similar challenges, global markets, cultural nuances. My father blinks, and used to me being the subject of praise. I stand taller, no longer curving my spine to fit their expectations. Tom, my brother, slides in, all false warmth. "Always knew you'd make it big, sis. Remember when I helped with that school project?" I laugh, sharp and unfiltered. "You mean when you said graphic design was for people who couldn't handle real jobs?" His smile falters, the silence heavy. Claire's future mother-in-law raises an eyebrow. "I thought you said Julia was struggling," she says to my mother, who smooths her dress nervously. Maria, ever my quiet ally, cuts through the tension. "Funny how memories change when a helicopter lands, isn't it?" Her voice carries an edge, drawing a few stifled laughs. My mother's response is quick, desperate. "We always encouraged Julia's independence." I meet her gaze. "You called it running away from responsibility," I say softly, the words rippling through the gathered family. Rebecca appears, champagne flute extended like a shield. "To Paris," she says, referencing our first client meeting years ago, when I redid a presentation 3 nights straight after a last-minute brief change. "You always knew what you wanted." Claire, surprising me, adds, "You've always been driven, Julia." I admire that. Her sincerity softens the room's edges, a reminder that not all my family doubted me. My mother tries again, her voice syrupy. Julia, darling, we should take photos for the family album. My father chimes in, and let us know when you're in Europe. We'd love to visit. Tom produces a business card. Coffee soon, sis. The firm's looking to expand internationally. I smile, precise as a scalpel. We'll see what the schedule allows. Logan steers me toward the terrace, sensing my need for air. The night wraps around us, city lights glittering below. Through the glass, I see my mother's face crumple slightly when she thinks no one's watching. Christmas is for family, she says later, cornering me by the dessert table. You always come home. The words tug at old obligations, but I'm no longer the daughter craving approval. I've made my home elsewhere, I say, my voice calm but final. Aunt Patricia's voice drifts from behind a flower arrangement, still showing off. Logan's hand finds mine, fingers intertwining. The diamond on my left hand catches the light, as solid as my career, my truth. The helicopter remains on the lawn, a period at the end of a long sentence. But it's not the final mark. In our hotel later, I draft an email to my parents, fingers steady on my laptop. I'd like to invite you to Dubai next month. Let me show you what I've built. I hit send, then lean against Logan, his warmth anchoring me. Tomorrow, I'll mentor a young designer, Emma, whose family echoes mine in their disbelief. Her portfolio, bold and raw, reminds me of myself at 23. The party showed me I don't need their approval, but Dubai will show them the life they denied. Some truths need the full light of day to shine. 3 weeks later, I stand in Dubai's arrivals terminal, watching my parents scan the crowd, their designer luggage and travel outfits betraying expectations of grandeur. My mother's face falls slightly when she spots our waiting car, a modest electric vehicle, not the luxury sedan she imagined. The hotel is lovely, she says later, as Logan guides them through the Four Seasons understated lobby, its quiet elegance a far cry from the gilded excess they'd pictured. We thought you'd be comfortable here, I say, watching them search for the spectacle they assumed defined my life. Dubai isn't all about flash. The next morning, I lead them through the glass doors of Bennett Global Branding. 30 pairs of eyes look up from sleek desks, voices rising in a chorus, "Good morning, Julia." Accents from London, Singapore, Cape Town weave a tapestry of my team, my family. My father's gaze jumps from face to face, taking in the wall of client logos, industry awards, framed magazine covers featuring my work. Through the conference room glass, my keynote presentation for the Global Brand Summit glows on a screen. All this time, my mother whispers, "You really were building something?" "Yes," I say, gesturing to my office. "Would you like to see more?" That evening, at a rooftop restaurant, Dubai's lights mirror the stars above. I set my phone on the white tablecloth. "For years, you thought I was lying about my life." My mother reaches for her water glass. "We were just concerned." I press play. Her voice fills the space, her imaginary fiancé, followed by Aunt Patricia's laughter. "I didn't invite you here for an apology," I say, steady. "I invited you to see the truth." My father's face flushes, that familiar purple. "You brought us here to embarrass us?" "No," I meet his gaze. "To show you me." My mother's tears smudge her makeup. "We were wrong about everything." I nod, sipping water. "Yes, you were. That will take time to address." The city glitters below, a constellation of choices that led me here. Their approval, once my North Star, feels hollow now. Logan's words from this morning echo, "The greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's living so fully their approval becomes irrelevant." A week later, sunlight streams through my Dubai office, catching the metallic threads of an Istanbul tapestry. Logan sets an Earl Grey on my desk, kissing my temple. "Your 9 o'clock is ready," he says. Emma, a young designer from Paris, appears on my screen, her portfolio bold and raw. "My family thinks graphic design is just pictures," she says, nervous. I see myself in her tight shoulders. "They're wrong," I tell her, watching hope bloom. "Book another session. We'll develop this further." My phone buzzes, an email from my mother. Family reunion. Your terms. The lake house in October, no pressure, just an open door. Logan's arms slip around me. She's learning, I say, leaning into him. Maybe. 6 weeks later, at the lake house, my mother's eyes meet mine, uncertain but clear. My father nods at my Singapore campaign, no dismissal in his gaze. Monthly calls follow, awkward but earnest. Aunt Patricia's absence speaks volumes. Claire's Santorini wedding photos arrive, our childhood rivalry now friendship. My mother visits my office in May, touching the helicopter photo. I was embarrassed then, she says. Now I see it was necessary. On our Dubai balcony, Logan and I plan the New York expansion, city lights jeweling the night. Your choice, your terms, he says. I watch a plane trace the sky, remembering the girl who thought approval would fix everything. The greatest revenge is living fully. In Paris, Emma refines her campaign. In Dubai, my team hums with creativity. In a lake house, my mother learns to see me. All of us evolving, one truth at a time.